So a challenge that I always run into is that not everyone's completely familiar with the digital content production process. And what this leads to is two things. For the DIY guys out there that's creating content using their smartphones and things like that, not understanding the process means that you might be skipping out in areas where you could be making huge impact for your business in. And it also means that you might be skipping out on some of the creative aspects and not planning out for your videos and content properly as well. So for the DIY guys, understanding the content production process becomes really valuable. And at the same time, even for the pros or even for the guys that are spending money with suppliers and working with suppliers to create content, you could be making a lot more use of your money, and you could also have great healthy relationships with your suppliers if you understand the digital content process a little bit more, so that you're asking for the right things at the right times and you're looking to achieve things that are achievable and so on. So what I thought I'd do is lay out the content production process, or the digital marketing content production process, so that you guys could be a lot more familiar with what goes on and be wrapping your heads around what it is that you could be doing when working with suppliers or when you're working by yourself. So what are these stages that you go through? Well, I have 6 different stages, and there could be stages in between that people could add on for whatever reason and whatnot, but there's 6 key stages, and what I wanted to focus on today was those 6. So number 1 is strategy, number 2 is pre-production, number 3 is production, 4th is post-production, 5th is distribution, and 6th is metrics, analytics, and revisions. You can put it all into the same thing, but think of it as improving for future is the 6th stage. So those are the 6 key stages, and what I'm going to do is go through each stage and break it down in a little bit more detail so that you guys can be a lot more familiar with it. So strategy. What is strategy? A lot of people seem to get strategy and pre-production a little bit mixed up, and they could seem a bit similar because they're both about planning, but the reality is that they're quite different. So strategy is long-term. Strategy is thinking about where it is that you want to be in a certain amount of time and having a rough idea of how you're going to get there. So it's very long-term, and it's about the vision and things like that you want to achieve. So if we're talking about video and strategy for video, this would ultimately be falling into an overall larger marketing plan. And what we could explore right now is the video component of a digital marketing strategy. So imagine you're a plumber. What would your strategy be? Well, first of all, you do some research in understanding what your competitors and what the rest of the world is doing when it comes to plumbing and creating videos around plumbing for marketing reasons. And what you have to look for is the opportunity that no one else has really come across. So in Melbourne or in Australia, you might notice that there's no one on YouTube and there's no one on Facebook. There's no thought leaders basically that are covering topics around plumbing. Or if you were to look at the west of Melbourne or a specific area of Melbourne, you might realize that there's no one out here that's positioning themselves as an expert or a thought leader in this space. So what you could decide to do is something like this: is in 6 months time, I want our business to be creating content that's resonating with a lot of the people in the West when it comes to tradies and when it comes to architects and things like that. And what I want to do is make tremendous amounts of impact with $50,000, and we're going to use YouTube, Facebook, and something else to do that. So strategy, I mean, that was a kind of a terrible example of one, but you get the idea. It's about long-term goals. It's about looking for the opportunity and then having a look at what you could roughly be doing to get there. If you were to look at pre-production is slightly different. Pre-production would look a little bit like this. It's, say you have a strategy and you've got a marketing calendar put in, and now you've you've decided that in your strategy you're going to create 3 videos a week or 5 videos a month, whatever it is, that's in place for you. And now you're at the stage of making videos. You're making each video. Pre-production is the planning specific to that video. So imagine today next week you're about to make a video that's going to showcase your expertise on pipe fittings or on taps or something like that. Well, what you'd be doing is you'd be planning out for what needs to go in that video. Maybe you need to go into your warehouse and showcase your staff and show different experts in different areas or something like that. Or maybe it's just simply you're going to be sitting in front of a camera and speaking through some notes that you have, or something along the lines. Whatever it is, pre-production is the stage that you plan for all of this at. In larger production, say you have to go to multiple locations and things like that, this is also the stage that you'll be planning those type of things at. So you'd be planning out things like the schedule for what needs to happen, what you'd be speaking about in the video, who needs to be there, what needs to be there as well. So for example, if you have equipment that you have to showcase and things like that. So pre-production is all about planning for one specific video that comes out of your strategy. Production. So this is the third stage. Production is basically all about following the plan that you laid out in pre-production. So in a lot of cases, production is kind of the fancy stage where all the cool lights and cameras and all that kind of stuff comes out. And if you were to look at behind the scenes in movies, a lot of what you're seeing is the production stage. And what happens here is usually you're filming or you're gathering the content and assets that you need to be able to create your video. So this is the stage that you'll be following your pre-production plan and maybe speaking to the camera or doing all your interviews. You'd also be gathering all the footage of all the taps that you need to showcase. Maybe this is also the stage that you have to do some animation work because there's some animations that need to be featured in your video. But all of this happens at this stage. And the whole goal of this is to gather all the assets that you need and follow the pre-production plan so you're doing exactly what you need. In the case of a DIY person, I guess you're a bit limited to what type of resources you have access to. So in the production stage, you're probably limited to just your smartphone or your GoPro or just your DSLR camera or something like that. In the professional world, this is when we have access to things like drones, gimbals, and a whole bunch of things like this to basically make sure that our content's really engaging and really interesting to people to look at. Post-production. So post-production is all about, it's the editing stage if we were to use layman's terms. So what happens here is we've had a strategy, we've had a pre-production stage, and we've planned for the video and everything. We've gathered all the content. So post-production is all about bringing that plan together using the assets that we gathered. So if in our strategy we decided that we're going to be making 3-minute videos or something like that, post-production is where you'll make sure that in the editing stage that this video is going to be a 3-minute video. This is also the stage that you could feature things like music and your logos and a whole bunch of things like that. For the DIY guys, if you're not completely familiar with how to use iMovie or Premiere Pro or something like that to be editing your own videos, a little tip is that you can use platforms like Fiverr and Upwork to basically outsource all your editing work to someone overseas, and they could usually get it done for like $20 or $30 odd. So if you are on a budget and you're still trying to figure it out and you have the ability to plan and film some content, even if it's on your smartphone, what you could be doing is just outsourcing your editing stage to a place like Upwork or Fiverr. I'll basically put the links below in the description so that you guys can check that out. But yeah, definitely check it out if you are on a bit of a budget. So that's post-production. It's all about polishing up your video, making sure that what you said in the strategy, what you said in pre-production does basically come out. So that's what post-production is all about. the next stage is distribution. So in strategy, there's a good chance that you explored what your distribution would be looking like. So there's a good chance that you decided that YouTube is the place for you to be, or that Facebook with YouTube and even Instagram are all things that you need to be doing to be succeeding in your video marketing. So this is the stage that you basically execute on this. You could focus on organically distributing your content, or you could also focus on doing a bit of ad spend. In most cases, businesses are leveraging a bit of both. Reason is, you know, if you've been around for a couple of years or something like that, there's a good chance that you've already built up some level of an audience in your emails, in your Facebook group, and YouTube and everything like that. So what you want to be doing is first leverage that audience and get your message and your content out to them. And for doing this, you don't need to spend any money. You can just use your organic channels. But to take it a step further, what you could be doing is you could be leveraging the ad platforms on YouTube, on Facebook, Google. All these places have ad platforms, and you could be leveraging that basically. So what you could be doing is, if you know that from strategy that you're targeting 35 to 55-year-old males on Facebook, you can basically plug all this information in and get your video out to exactly the type of person that you want to get it out to. So there's a whole bunch of things that you could be doing in distribution, and the goal really is to either understand the platforms by playing around with it. There's a ton of people on YouTube that make videos about it, but do understand it's a long-term game and you will have to become an expert over time. Or what you should really be doing is working with an expert, whether you're outsourcing it or even if you're bringing some sort of an expert in. Either way, you should be working with an expert that knows what they're doing. So it's either you become the expert or you give it to an expert to do. But distribution's a very key stage. You could spend tons of money, and we've seen this a lot of times. Businesses that spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on creating content, and the most that ever happens with it, it sits on the About Us section of their website that maybe 5 people a day would go to, if that. So that, in my opinion, that's not the best use of a $5,000 video just to put it up on your About Us section. Unless you're unless you're doing $100 million a day, then that's a different scenario. You can afford things like that. But if your business is turning over about $5 million a year or something along the lines of that, a $5,000 to $20,000 spend in digital content creation, you want to be maximizing that. So definitely work with someone that knows what they're doing when it comes to distribution, or to be honest, when it comes to all of this. The next stage is measurement and analytics. So it's got to do with all your metrics. Now, the good thing is that we're actually lucky. We're in 2018, almost in 2019 now. And why we're lucky is that all these digital marketing platforms, or all these social media platforms, gives us the ability to understand exactly how our content's performing. Now, back in the day, if we were to look at, say, 10 years ago, we would be kidding ourselves if we thought we could get this much data on how well a certain piece of content's performing. Understanding things like if people like our content or not, how long they're tuning into, where in the world they're tuning in from. All this data was stuff that we used to have to do surveys for, and in most cases to do surveys and then be dealing with inaccurate information as well. Well, all of that's gone now. We've got the power of understanding exactly how our content's performing and understanding on a pretty accurate level how that content's performing. So we could use all the metrics on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever we decide to distribute our content, and we can basically start understanding that certain people like our content for different reasons, or maybe our audience likes content that are a certain length in time, or they might be tuning in just for the fact that certain videos are more entertaining than others. Whatever the reasons are, you could dig deep and understand at this stage how your content's performing. And what this gives you the ability to do is to plan out for future content. So if you know that you're making 10-minute videos all the time, and a majority of your audience is dropping off at the 10-minute mark, sorry, not the 10-minute mark, the 8-minute mark. What you'd be understanding here is that there's two problems. Something's terrible's happening at the 8-minute mark on your videos, and maybe you're showing an ad or something crazy like that, and everyone's tuning out for that reason. Or what could be happening is that people just simply like 8-minute videos, and now you'd know to only be focusing on making 8-minute videos rather than the 10-minute ones that you've been doing. So whatever the reasons are, you can basically dig deep and find out using the analytics tools that you have on how your content's performing. And this becomes really, really powerful. Like, this is the type of stuff that marketers dreamed of about 15, 20 years ago, and right now it's just available. So those are the 6 key stages, guys. Just to recap, number 1 is strategy. Number 2 is pre-production. 3rd is production. 4th is post-production. 5th is distribution. And 6th is all about analyzing, understanding your content, and then having a good idea of how you could attack or approach future content. So those are the 6 key stages, guys. I just wanted to remind you that I'm hosting free digital marketing strategy sessions. It's basically a 1-hour session where we get started on exploring some of the things that a business could be doing when it comes to digital marketing. So if you are one of those people that's still a bit confused around digital marketing and how digital marketing works in the modern day, definitely reach out to me and be sure to book in a digital marketing strategy session. I'll put all the details in the description below. But if you are from Melbourne or if you are from Australia, definitely be sure to book in one of those sessions with me. I basically love doing them. I love teaching people how digital content works, and it's also really great to be working with people and see awesome results as well. So definitely book in one of those. But until next time, guys, I hope you have an awesome day, and take care. Peace.